And hello again. Today I just want to leave a video about something that I've talked about before, just briefly. And actually, I don't even think it was a topic, but I've just been thinking a lot about um, the nature of God and how He has this humble nature, and how we really need to keep that in mind and really understand what that is, because may find that this world is set up to make us not um, respond to that type of nature by default. Um, I mean, you could probably guess why that is. I mean, we all know who the God of this world is. If you don't, the answer is Satan. So he's the God of this world. We can do a whole thing about how that happened, but basically, his whole objective is to separate as many people from God as he can. And so, a really simple way to do that is to surround us with things that are not of God and make us enjoy those things more and respond to those things more. So, I've just been thinking a lot about what it means to be humble and have a humble nature. And I'm just seeing it more and more just with everything that I read in the scriptures, and just, um, I guess when people hear God speak, they hear, the most popular, popularized connotation with God is him being this authoritarian, sort of scary person in the sky that's gonna, you know, zap you with lightning or whatever if you do the wrong thing, or just some invisible fairy tale sounding thing. Um, but I think that his character sort of lends itself to that fairy tale thing that people, when they hear it and they think it's not real. It's because God is humble, and he is, like, at the same time supreme. And so he will just say things like, have you ever met people with this? I think we all know someone in our lives, who has not just the humility. There's the kind of humility that we all, the approved, the society approved humility. Then there's the humility that makes you overlook people, the kind that makes you think that person must not be important. You may not want to be seen with that person. Maybe you think that person has lost the plot because they don't seem to know what's going on. Otherwise, they wouldn't be acting. They would put on a facade if they knew it was good for them, and they don't. And so that person must be crazy, or not paying attention, because where's your facade? Where is your first impression? Your 3 point presentation, whatever. Um, how did you not get the memo that we're not speaking the truth here? We are skirting the issue round and round until someone finally, says something in the right way, and then we all agree. So it's like, yeah, that's the type of nature that God is. God is testing you to see if you are going to respond to what's true and real and right. If you're going to have courage, and why? What do you need courage for? Is it so that you can, brave the scary, and what's considered scary? There's a whole there's a verse that says something like, if you deny me before men, I'll deny you before my Father. And we kind of understand why he would need to say that, because, if you're a Christian in the modern time, it's not the best thing to be. Um, it's not the coolest thing to be, let's say. Some places it's very dangerous. Some places it's just not cool. And so we kind of understand why he would need to say that. But I see a lot of fellow Christians who are putting themselves in danger of having to live this passage. And why is that? It's not because they're afraid of some external thing that would make them deny God. It's not like deny God or I'm going to cut you. Even in the case of where Peter denies Jesus 3 times, I mean, that was a dangerous situation. But what was happening? The scales were tipping out of Jesus's favor. Whereas before, when you read about, the crowd, they're watching how the Sanhedrin is responding to Jesus, and they didn't, when Jesus said this, they didn't correct him. So do they think he's real? And so they're trying to determine how they're going to judge the situation by watching this thing play out. And we see that the world's response is to plot to kill him and just get rid of him. And Jesus, knowing that that's going to happen and having all power to stop it, and just choosing to not, and just being silent when they are, the Sanhedrin is slapping him around and showing their strength, and he's just quiet. And the disciples would have seen that, and I'm sure that it discouraged them, because the appearance. So we see that God doesn't care about, not only does he not care about appearances in the way that we have to on earth here, he is deliberately sort of making things look a certain way, and it's usually making them look unfavorable to himself so that he can test the hearts of the people, and so, or that they can see themselves what's in their own hearts. So this humility, you may find that you don't actually like it, because you have been fed a steady diet of an outer facade and artifice and what looks good and celebrities and flashing lights and charisma and what people are drawn to, which are all the things that Satan uses to build his kingdom. And then you find out later that it's full of snakes and garbage and death. And some people, even knowing all that, still don't leave, because they still find it to be the superior kingdom, I guess, because it gets you results, and it gets things done, and it gets the things that you want. And ain't that what it's about anyway? So, a lot of people are riding with the devil, not because they love him, but because he is aiding them in their pursuit of whatever it is they want. And so, the things that kind of look silly, the things that are sort of mumbling and fumbling, because that is who we are on this side of heaven. We're not perfect. And so what does that mean to not be perfect? We all love to say it. Oh, I'm not perfect. God knows I'm not. So what does that mean? That means if you're walking in truth with God, that means we're all going to watch you fall on your face in real time. And we all have to decide whether, the cringe is too much and we have to leave, or we're all going to walk with you on that humility track and see through the eyes of God. Because, this one little, I won't say little, but this one trait is really enough to uproot a lot of people's beliefs in God. Um, God is very straightforward about what He wants and what the stipulations are, and a lot of people want to pretty them up. And it's like the way that you think that you can pretty it up more than God can, it's not possible. Either you think what God thinks is pretty, or you don't. So, to be like, oh, well, the way that the Bible puts this, it's really not, you want to take things out or you want to make them, well, what it really means is this, like, God doesn't mince words. He's telling you, there's so many, like, what people would call difficult passages. Like when the disciples asked Jesus, there's a man born blind, and they ask him, like, who sinned? Like, was it him or his parents that he was born blind? And Jesus' answer is, neither, but, he was born blind so that the glory of God could be displayed in him. And then he heals him. But, for a lot of people, that's still not a great answer. Like, the man's blind so that God could display his glory. Like, what does that even mean? Like, why handicap a man for the glory of God? So, then a lot of people want to just come in and, like, really just overwork that passage to make it nice. I mean, you can tell that's what it is, what they're doing. Just really trying to make it something that would make sense to the carnal mind that needs everything to look good and polished and wonderful. And even when people sort of have a debate with you about God, ultimately what they're asking is, okay, so if God is so great, why isn't this part good, polished, and wonderful? Why does it look so ugly, and why does it sound so mean? And you can tell that they're really offended by the fact that God didn't make any effort to sort of clean up this ugly thing there. It's like, don't you know we're going to be here judging it? Why didn't you make it sterile for us? That's what the devil does for us when we want to examine something. He makes it nice and neat. Why didn't God do that if he's so powerful? You know what I mean? So this is sort of bleeding into what I thought I was going to have to make a separate video about. But, I think a lot of us assume that, we want to believe the best about people, and we want to believe that most people want good things, and that if they are denying God, it is because they didn't hear all the information, or they were hurt by other people, or, they were deceived by this or that, or they were enticed by this or that. And if they just hear the real information, that they'll just accept it. And one thing that I have always, I had never espoused to that. I could see plainly, like, listen, a lot of people just don't like it. They just don't like it. I just watched a lady who said she had a dream, and she found this pearl, this precious pearl, and she was trying to show it to people, and they just didn't want to look at it. She was like, "Just look at it," and she was having to go door to door to show it to people, and nobody was wanting to look at it. And her, she was, what she got from that was just, it's so simple to just look upon the beauty of Christ and of the kingdom of God and just accept it. Um, and for her, it was as simple as looking at it. But as she was talking, I was just thinking, yeah, no, that's to you. That's for you. It's that way. It's foolishness to those who are perishing, and it will always be that way. That doesn't mean that there's some fancy way that you can say it to make them accept it. And if in fact you do manage to fancy it up and make someone accept it, then um, you've changed it. Either that, or they're going to find out that not everything else can be prettied up like that little presentation you did, and they're going to leave. Because the reality is that people don't like, there's a reason why uh, the overlooked people in society are people who, may not have anything to offer, or, they don't understand the social uh, cues that they're supposed to do, or, they don't have the resources that they need to have to fit in, or whatever. And the solution is not to put all our resources together so that these people can somehow learn what they need to learn, or get what they need to get, or raise money so that they can fit in. It's to reject the system entirely that is flawed and stupid and keeps people out who have the greatest qualities that God values. Um, Trying to make it be a part of the thing is like, it reminds me of that episode of Black Mirror where they did the social credit score thing, and which was prophetic at the time, and now it's just like we probably low-key have it in some type of way. But I see a lot of Christians who, it's like God has freed you from the credit score, but you want to keep it. You want to keep the credit score and be a Christian. It's like, it's I'm sure that you can, I guess, but you're gonna be a slave to two masters. You're gonna be a slave to that thing. If you've got a 4 and you trying to keep it, like, the whole point of having Jesus is to be free. So why don't you want to be free? Go be a slave then to that. Because you're going to either be a slave to that or be a slave to Christ. Oh, well, a slave to Christ? Why do I still have to be a slave? Because, well, I don't think that that's okay. Well, then don't join. Do you not want to be a slave to righteousness? I'd like to be a free person to righteousness. Well, there's no such thing as that. As long as you're on the earth, you have two natures. You have a sin nature and the original nature that God gave you. So you can either be faithful to one or faithful to the other. It's like that trend, that TikTok trend where it's like you got two parents and they go in either direction and the baby's like, which way do I go? It's like, are you going to follow God or are you going to follow the devil? Are you going to follow the one that birthed you or the one that birthed sin in you? Um, this is kind of related, but not. But I was just thinking about sexuality and how I don't know if it's getting just manipulated to the point that people don't realize like that seduction. They think if I don't know if people think that seduction and being like lured into activity is sexuality, because it isn't. Like I just thought about that today. I was like, is that what's happening, that people think that being seduced and being enticed is sexuality itself? Because that would explain a lot of what people fight against. It's like if you've never had an innocent situation where were you were able to decide whether you were going to be attracted to something or not, rather than something just put in your face and until you were mesmerized. You know, I'm wondering if people even know that there's a difference. And more than that, there's people who would rather be enticed. They'd rather be seduced. They like the feeling of being lured away or being pursued, overpowered. Not pursued, but like, they like to be, they like to sort of just be like, well played, they don't, I've never been like that. And I don't, and I wonder if that's like a difference in certain people, because, I don't like to, I don't know if you've ever been approached by somebody and they had like a certain energy or whatever. It's like some gross person that's like trying to get you to like be into them and stuff. It's like, I don't want you to like try to make me be into you. I would like you to just present yourself unto me, and then I make the choice of whether I like that or not. Like, but you trying to like do your thing is like annoying. So, yeah, I think that there's some people in the world that are like that, and God is not like that. God is attractive, but he's not seductive. So you're going to be waiting a long time if you want to be seduced by God. God's like, try me and see. It's great. I've got this and this and this and this. He's like, holy and pure and like upfront and everything right there on the surface and like smiley and like, I love you, and just like saying what all he feels right away, like immediately. And you're like, oh, okay, like, gosh, I wish you would have played the game more or whatever. It's like, then we're not a match. Then we're not a match. So there's a lot of people that you think, oh, if they just, they they came on the wrong Sunday and they heard the wrong song. And, if they had just had some, intellectual, whatever, if they had, a whole bibliography of sources, that it's like, no, 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 that's not the problem. That's not the problem. So the best way to really find out whether you want to be part of the God Club or not is to lay it all out on the table in a um, just a straightforward, innocent, humble, uh, enthusiastic, nerdy, if you will, way, and see who's drawn to it, who accepts it. Genuine, because the potion that's 5% this and 5% hold back and 5% showing genuine interest and 5% being elusive and 5%, that is from the devil. That's from the devil. God said, let your yes be no, yes be yes, and your no be no, and anything besides that is from the evil one. It's like you trying to have, and there's some people that are naturally doing that and they don't even know they're doing that. And that's wonderful. But there's a lot more people who are spending lots and lots of time to make it look natural, and it ain't. And God is neither of those things. He's made everything, but he is, you know, he's a man of few words, but he's genuine, and he is painfully genuine and honest and full of light that you would hurt your eyes. And you may not be into that. You may like dark rooms and saying things in riddles. And if that's the case, then I'm glad we found that out early. Like, stop trying to make everybody a potential Christian. But if the stupid Christians hadn't done it so stupidly, they would have been part of the club. No. So, yeah, God is humble. And our report card is, all the people that we overlooked and all of the people that needed our help, the people that begged us openly with tears, and we just were disgusted by it and repulsed by it. All that's going to come out. And, he's going to be like, that was me. You know what I mean? And all of the things that we raise up and we are screaming, crying about, and paying hundreds of dollars to get a piece of, and all that's going to pass away, and no one's going to remember it, and that's just reality. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. So bless you guys. Have a good one.